Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena, Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, and His Excellency Chu Jing Hong, the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China in Sri Lanka, and Madam Jin Jiang, Madam spouse of the Ambassador. It is indeed a great pleasure for me and for the association to have this occasion at Temple Trees. That is because we have never had such a important event celebrated at such an important place, because our existence throughout 73 years, since 21st of September 1950, we never had such we never got an opportunity to celebrate our beginning, our inauguration in this magnitude. We never had that chance. But all that became because of the Prime Minister. So from the moment I requested Prime Minister gave consent, and Prime Minister in fact helped us in all possible way. That is because this I have to go back to history, Your Excellency, because how this happened. This in the sense, in fact, we being Asian countries, even from Thailand, we have been friends, that's right. But the friendship blossomed later on after the Communist Party of China started to struggle to develop the ongoing march towards liberation. Then only all this happened. Because at that time in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan situation was, the Sri Lanka was so. We had a very strong Sri Lankan Communist Party, and then we had a very strong revolutionary Sama Samaj Party who worked together in various fields. Your Excellency, now this situation, I think it is my duty as the President of the Association, and also as a person who is having communist aspirations, to inform and to explain to Your Excellency. Now, even in 1945, Communist Party of Ceylon and Communist Party of China have not established relationships. Finally, that establishment was done in Paris when Communist Party leader, Comrade S.A. Vikram Singh, and political bureau member of the party, Comrade Chan Udasan, went to Paris to attend the International Conference of Labour. Even at that time, the Communist Party delegate who came for the conference had made a plane crash and died in Cuba. So it is only a deputy only they made. But then they still could not carry on the party-to-party contact, even though at that time there was Communist Third International and also International Bureau of the Third International. But still, Your Excellency, by 1948 in Sri Lanka, there was a tremendous feeling among our people about China. That is because not only China is our friend, not only because China is Asian, but because of Chinese Communist Party and the Red Army and their march forward. So at that time, Your Excellency, Ceylon Communist Party started printing a paper called Communist in Sinhala language. Communist in Sinhala language. So that was started, the first copy came up on the 1st of May 1948. That is before the liberation of China. At that time only, this is the paper, Communist. This is the copy of the paper, and they sold it for 5 cents. This here it says, China is liberated. China is independent. But at that time it has not happened. But still, our people thought, with the ongoing march of Red Army, the China's liberation is just around the corner. And in fact, you see, this Chairman Mao Zedong, this photo at that time, and this is the photo of General Secretary of Communist Party at that time. So then, even after when General Chiang Kai-shek fled away to Formosa, it was reported in this, reported that Chiang Kai-shek was driven to Formosa. All this happened, all this came up in the daily single paper, Your Excellency. So what I really want to emphasize is the fact that the Sri Lankan working class, the Sri Lankan intellectuals, the Sri Lankan university students, the Sri Lankan left as a whole, basically in Colombo, they had this feeling of China is now rising. And Chinese Communist Party led Red Armies marching and liberating one by one great cities. So at that time, that feeling created a tremendous force in Sri Lanka, among Sri Lankan people, especially working class, because at that time we had a very strong Ceylon Workers' Trade Union Federation. And these sentiments of the workers, led by Ceylon Communist Party and Revolutionary Samaj Party, this feeling, this psychological bondage, it really brought up together to create a situation that something more has to be done. The Communist Party is marching forward, and Communist Party will liberate China very soon. And we in Sri Lanka, what do? We have to do something. So we have to support. How do we support? That was a problem that was in fact understood. And at that time, Your Excellency, I think, if I am correct, on the 21st of September 1949, in Beijing, the Chinese United Front legislature was formed as Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. On the 21st of September 1949, 10 days prior to the liberation, 10 days prior to proclamation of liberation. So at that time, at that meeting of Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference only, they decided who should be the chairman, who should be the prime minister, and what should be the national anthem, and what should be the red flag, and what is the date to proclaim People's Republic of China as an independent sovereign state among the nations of the world. So that was, after deciding that, only on 21st of September, it paved way for the 1st of October to announce, to proclaim the liberated China, and by Chairman Mao Zedong as People's Republic of China among nations. So then everything was blooming. And our people, the next year, exactly 1 year after the formation of Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, exactly 1 year after that, on the 21st of September 1950, our association was formed. The forming of our association was a joint work between Ceylon Communist Party and Revolutionary Samaj Party, in which the leader was our Honorable Prime Minister's father, and the other leader was Honorable Prime Minister's mother. So when this was organized, in fact, at that time, there was another lady who was very close to Queen Chauvenlai, a famous writer in Sri Lanka. She also was a Gunawardena, but different family. That is Teja Gunawardena. She was a writer, and she was well known to Communist Party of China. And at her residence at number 224 Temple Road, Maradana, Colombo 10, this a small group of people got together, leftists, they got together and formed this organization, Ceylon Giant Friendship Society. And forming that, about 10, 15, I don't know how much, but a small group. Because I have searched these things in the Sri Lankan National Archives. I have even, Honorable Prime Minister, I had even gone through the Times collection for this. So after that, that meeting of pioneers, Communist Party and some Samaj, Viplava some Samaj Party, they wanted to have the first president, that is to elect Madam Kusuma Gunawardena as the first president. That was there was a reason for that. I mean, it doesn't come up because at that time the leader of the party, Honorable Philip-Kusuma Gunawardena, was not in the parliament. He fought Southwestern struggle, and then he had a problem, a legal problem, and then he was outside from parliament, and then the by-election came up, and no one dared to contest Madam Kusuma Gunawardena. And other left, right, center, no political party had feeling. I mean, they never thought that they can come up the ladder to face Madam Kusuma Gunawardena, because she was called at that time, later on, in fact, in the House, she was called former General Secretary of the Communist Party, Peter Kahneman. He himself happens to be a journalist. He said, red flame of House. So, Honorable Prime Minister's mother was the red flame of House, the red flame of Parliament. So she was elected as the president of this small group, and later on it changed its name as Sri Lanka and China Friendship Association, and that's how that was the basis to bring up this friendship together. And then Your Excellency, as Your Excellency knows, then after that, after our association was formed, our association and also the various forces who got together in working together with the left, general left and working class and the intellectuals and teachers, there was a strong agitation going on to recognize China as a sovereign country. So in 1950, then government, Honorable T.S. Saranaka's government, they recognized People's Republic of China as an independent sovereign country, and it was the 13th country to recognize People's Republic of China. When I say 13 countries, Your Excellency, Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, Albania, all these countries were there, and that row. And then after that, India, Burma, and Britain. But Britain, they had to recognize because they had that Hong Kong there. So they have to be in friendship with China as much as possible. So they recognize China. Then, in fact, following suit, our government recognized as the 13th country. So when China had no friends, we were there. When China was isolated, we were there. We were a small, tiny, little country. But still, we were there to stand for China and to have hopes that China will be a tremendous force in the world that will finally, that has happened today. And then, Your Excellency, after that recognition of China as a sovereign country, people agitated when rubberized issue came up, because we had rice issue, and China was involved in Korean War, and they had rubber issue. So finally, the rubberized pact was signed in 1952, and after that it is just a simple way, because people started saying, why don't you go for diplomatic relationship? But it took time when Honorable S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike and our Prime Minister's father, Philip-Kusuma Gunawardena, they formed the United Front, and they won the election, and then the first step they did was recognizing, one of the first steps, recognizing and having diplomatic relationship with China. But I have a nice photo, Honorable Prime Minister, that when Premier Chowin Lai came to Sri Lanka, he was hosted at Honorable Prime Minister's house most probably by his mother, and the entire family was there with the photo with Premier Chowin Lai, and our Prime Minister is also there, I think, as a small boy, and school boy. So that paved way for all this. And now our association has worked all these years, and during all these 73 years, that was 21st September 1950, today 21st September 2023. Exactly 23 years, exactly an evening, exactly say some 26,000 days after the inauguration. So now that is why I say that this is the most honorable, the most heroic day for our association to have this. And it all came up because our Honorable Prime Minister helped us to arrange this meeting. And our Honorable Prime Minister, in all possible ways, from the moment I told Honorable Prime Minister, he said, all right, Anand, we'll do that. It's as simple as that. So we took that. So then I never thought, I was never ready for a long speech, because I was not well all these days. And I was wondering whether my voice will come up properly. But anyway, I managed. So I think this is the time to conclude, Your Excellency. Thank you.